In today's socially connected and fast-paced world, you will want to succeed and stand out from the competition. Your host, Jonathan Butler, is an award-winning chef, restaurateur and author, and is known for shaking up the everyday within our highly competitive industry. Welcome to the Disruptive Restaurateur podcast.
Hello, welcome to the Disruptive Restaurateur podcast. I'm John Butler and I am talking to Andrew Clarke. So, hi Andrew, how you doing?
Hey John, how are you? Very good.
Yeah, really good, really good. Well, as good as can be in the current sort of situation, but I'm quite lucky that I actually work from home a lot anyway, so it's actually not too different for me. But as we were saying a minute ago. One day's rolling into the other, isn't it?
It's weird that I'm completely out of routine. As a chef of 23 years, you build a solid routine every day. You know what you're doing. You come in, you grab your coffee, you go to the, look at the deliveries. Knives out, butchery done, fish prep done. It's methodical. It's in order. I did step away from kitchens about 6 months ago, and I've been trying to build a routine in my new career, I guess, and that's been difficult enough. But then when this hit, it was just like, oh shit.
Yeah, no, it does. It kind of just throws you, doesn't it? And it's
really does. And even though I've got to say, I don't know where the hours are going every day. I'm solid with work. None of which is earning me any money. But I have jobs and requests and writing and loads of things, things I contribute to, and I enjoy it. I want to help people where I can. I've been making these videos for Instagram that have now become a thing where people then, they want to send me stuff, collaborate with me. And now I'm obliged to make sure I keep that narrative going. And they take it out of me as well. So then I'm like, I've got even less work done today. So it's really good. This is no way me complaining, but anyone that's getting bored, I'm like, I want to have a bit more time to myself, because I feel like, not having a restaurant and I'm still like, at 200 miles an hour with work.
Yeah, well, that's good. Let's sort of go back, as I say. So, chef for 23 years. Kind of, where did your sort of, how did you kind of get into it, and what was the kind of, what was your kind of journey in that sort of early sort of stages?
Well, it was completely accidental. I never wanted to be a chef. I love food. I come from a family of people that love food. My dad used to design restaurants, so I guess we always ate out. Not in the terribly high places, but just we ate out, and we had, I guess amongst my friends, I had more exposure to it. But I was a musician I still am a musician. But all through my teens, and I just thought, I'm going to be a rock star. I'm going to tour the world. That's it. Maybe I'd have a restaurant at some point in my life, as many, musicians and actors and stuff do, and maybe I'd finish up my days with a bottle of claret in the corner, and that would be my
the perfect sort of dream scenario, isn't it? You play guitar, don't you?
I play guitar, and I sing in my band. I've been playing about 30 odd years, so it is my first love. And I guess I've never dropped it, but there's definitely been times in my career of cooking that I've had to leave it alone for a period of time. Yeah. And in the last few years, it's been back. We've been playing live. We've been, it's been as important in my life as it used to be. Do you know what I mean? But I joke around with people saying, like, I stepped into a kitchen to pay for my music, and now 20 odd years later I can finally play my music. Do you know what I mean? So I'm really happy that I'm doing that again.
I'm because I play the drums, but cool. For years they were sort of stuck up in the loft, but I do now have them in the corner of my office to sort of when I need to get rid of a bit of tension, you sort of
So important. Like, I haven't got a guitar on my lap at the moment, but the amount of times that I've had a few meetings on Zoom and Skype and stuff over the lockdown, and I've always got a guitar with me. It's just because I need something to do with my hands, I always want to kind of fiddle around, but back to so I'm a failed musician. I didn't quite make it there. I guess I don't mind telling people this, but there was a period of my life when I was 20. So I was looking at life in prison, which was, for someone at that age, it was really quite fucked up. And I didn't know where my life was going. All my dreams of kind of being a musician, and I think I wanted to go out to the States to learn music production at a school there. And, when this event happened, I was like, kind of physically sick every day. And I was just like, what, why is this happening to me? I was basically defending myself. I got attacked and I defended myself, and the guy came off worse. And I'm just like, well, how is this? It's such a shit situation for someone so young. And I couldn't play guitar for months, and you couldn't sing or any of that. I just felt completely empty and hollow and awful. So, cut a long story short, a year later, I was finally up for my trial and found not guilty on the 2 charges I was facing. But it was a hard readjustment. It took a lot of motivation out of me, and I was just like stunned for so long. I had to earn some money once the trial was over. And because I'd fucked up all my exams at school thinking I was going to be this rock star, the only thing I could do was cook. I loved cooking at home. Let's say my exposure to restaurants was good, and therefore we'd go out and then I'd want to try it at home. So as a kind of 10, 11-year-old, I was cooking as young as that. And so, a job came up, and actually I was talking to my mum about it the other day because she still kind of remembers this phone call that there was a pizza restaurant near me, and it was a friend of a friend, and she's like, well, give them a call, go and get a job there. And so the first place I kind of worked in was this like sports bar pizza restaurant in Dartford in Kent, where I'm from. And I lasted a couple of months, maybe like 2 months, and I left because I didn't want to be a chef, but I was better than that place. Like, how fucking arrogant. But
well, ambition, I think I'd call it, over arrogance.
Well, that is it. So, you know what? I immediately went to another pizza restaurant, but this time they had a wood-fired oven. So I was stepping up slowly. And then from there, it was the Blue Water shopping centre, basically, in Dartford, in Kent. And I basically did the tour of all the restaurants that were down there at the time.
Yeah, wow.
And each time just saying, look, I just said to myself, I don't want to be a chef, but I'm better than this place, I'm better than that place. And then eventually I ended up at a place called the Swan in West Malling. And I've been writing about this at the moment just for my own kind of like journal and, possibly a book. But, I wanted to get this out of my head, this little bit of a story. So that was the place. When I got there, I was still very much in music. But all of a sudden, I'm with real chefs. They're not kind of, like people just reheating food and stuff. These were actual real chefs. And I was like, wow, okay, I felt slightly out of my depth, but I was still very confident in what I could do and what I could achieve with the right people. So, getting whole carcasses of meat, whole fish, doing a lot of butchery, understanding that. Working with a brigade, a much bigger brigade. So understanding more of everything from cooking bread from scratch, desserts from scratch, all the pastry work. And then, having a really busy line where you've got kind of, the sauce chef, garnish, larder, and I was just like fascinated. So,
in a place like that, you've probably got a lot more discipline.
Oh, massively. I mean, I'd come from working
a lot more structured, so you probably at that time didn't realise it then, but probably you needed that structure. And that
I definitely needed it. I think one of the things I had just worked with a whole load of cowboys and pirates and scumbags, if you will. I mean, it was like that. I mean, all very lovely people, but everyone they'd rob you if you left any money around. Do you know what I mean? It was a real difference in people. But then, getting to the Swan and everyone was in like absolute smart chef whites and, just the discipline in there. And I was like, I got it eventually. I wanted to, but I think they probably might have they might have had a few things to say to me in the early days. I think, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But it was a real eye opener, and I went in as a CDP, and 6 years later I left as head chef. So it was good. But like that was it for me. That was the start of my career, really. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And that was then kind of the launch pad that then led you on to all the other bits that you took on after that.
Yeah, I think back then, I mean, we're going back some years as well, like 15 years or so, but I was very much into foraging, and we would grow things. We'd have a woman that would grow stuff for us. You could go out on your lunch. I had like this big truck, and we would go out on our lunch break and go and either forage, or we'd go up to like fields. And a friend's dad was a lamb mutton farmer, so we'd pick out what animal we wanted on our chopping board in 2 weeks. And so we were all quite young, but we all had that understanding of farm to table and where things were from. So I guess it was a bit of a shock then after I left there and I needed to get back into London. And I was working at one place which I won't mention, but it was just a bit of nothing wrong with it, but it was from actually foraging our own stuff to then, those guys that had a Michelin star, they were saying, "Oh, can you get the chestnuts out the freezer?" And I'm like, "What? You don't pick your own?" I mean, and trying to show off to me about what forage produce they've got, and I'm just like, well, I used to get bags of this stuff. I know everything. It was hard to see that we had tried to do everything down there. It was all like farm to table, really, or forage to table, and then to be in a Michelin kitchen where the food was amazing, but everything was either just done for you or frozen. It's quite a shock.
Yeah. It kind of takes a bit of the shine off it, doesn't it, when you see back of house of some of these places?
Yeah, it really does. But I never played stars for those reasons. I mean, I've questioned a lot of stars that have been given away in recent years, and I always wanted just a successful restaurant. That was always it.
And that's completely was always my ethos. So obviously, when I had my restaurants, and I was very much, it was, I'm not chasing awards. At the end of the day, just to have a Michelin star doesn't mean that you're actually making money. And obviously, people like Gordon Ramsay and stuff have proved that, haven't they?
Well, that's it. I mean, I think we learned it back at the Swan. It was just like, my bosses there, they had an amazingly successful restaurant, busy all the time. It was like the jewel in Kent. Everyone wanted to go there, and they were people I looked up to in terms of, right, I want a restaurant like this. Whereas there was a Michelin-starred restaurant down the road that was only ever, full at the latter part of the week, and then they went out of business within a year or two. And it's like, well, we realised that Michelin stars don't pay the bills, but having a nice full restaurant with all that, lively conviviality was just something that I wanted.
Well, surely that's what restaurants are about, isn't it? It's about having, like I say, a full restaurant, and I've always thought that the buzz of a busy, restaurant where the feedback's coming back in, there's great food and everything else, and you see that, and you see these clear plates coming back in.
Completely.
You'd much rather that than, like you say, a half-empty restaurant where, I've been to some Michelin-starred restaurants where you can hear a pin drop in the dining room, and it's like, this isn't the atmosphere that you come to a restaurant for.
Well, I've found them I'd spent a lot of money in certain restaurants, and they're so forgettable. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I can remember some of the meals. Like I always go to Lahore kebab place in Whitechapel. They do like amazing curries, grilled meats, and stuff. And I mean, I don't ever really spend more than £16 to £20 in there per head. and some of them, like, I can remember every time I'm in there. Do you know what I mean? Whereas, certain restaurants, 1 and 2 star restaurants that I've been to over the last few years, I couldn't tell you what I've eaten.
Yeah, yeah. So obviously going on. Obviously, you've had, you've been partnered into your own restaurants. What what would you say that kind of period was? Is that a tough time having your own restaurant?
Yeah, I mean, nothing's easy, is it? I mean, otherwise we'd all be doing it. They have their own challenges. Like, I think from grafting as a chef de partie, sous chef, then into head chef, every time you step up that ladder, you have new challenges. When it comes to being a restaurant owner, it's serious, particularly if you borrowed a whole load of money. And I don't know. I mean, I think I'm very pragmatic about things. I'm methodical. I think that's what the years have taught me. Still don't think I've got it right, so I guess I'm still learning as well. I think with St Leonard's, there was a lot of problems we had with that. One, I'd say, be careful who you jump into bed with, and I would say try to not have too many partners, and because there's too many voices, and we're all pulling in different directions, and I think we're all accountable when something goes wrong. But I think I don't want to say I burnt out, because I'm trying, with Pilot Light, I'm trying to create something that helps people with not burning out. But at the same time, I felt a bit jaded over the last year. And I was just like, I'm going to take a year out to concentrate on Pilot Light. And then maybe I go back into restaurants. Maybe I do maybe I do something that's like more social good restaurant. I'm not sure. But I've had 23 years in it, and I still cook, and I'm known as a chef. So I will continue being involved in food in some way. But I think I'm going to have like 10 minutes out of restaurants. And I tell you what, at the moment with, the whole lockdown and the way the industry has had to close up because of the coronavirus, it's just like, I'm really, really grateful that I don't have a restaurant at the moment.
That's Well, obviously, as somebody who, obviously, I had my own restaurants for 10 years, and then I came out of those in 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
And then the last 10 years, obviously, I've done consultancy. So, and obviously, I've worked with different clients, various clients, and where you've got people who are obviously either opening restaurants or they have restaurants, it's going in and helping them to sort out. And obviously, when you've been, as you say, when you've had your own restaurant, you kind of find it can be very overwhelming. I think I find a lot of restaurant owners become overwhelmed, because it's certainly, if they're a smaller independent, where they haven't got a huge sort of war chest of money to be spending on X, Y, Z, and have all these different people to help them. There's a lot going on, and you've got to be able to obviously market that business. You've got to be able to get customers through the door. It's easy to lose money in restaurants, as it is easy to, to make money.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on. And obviously, chefs can be very temperamental, can't we? So
yeah, I mean, that's what I've tried. Do you know what I think I've been good at over the years is, because I never wanted to be a chef, I've tried not to take on the chef mentality fully. Yeah. Now, there's a lot of people that would say, no, you're definitely a chef. But I've tried not to. I've always tried to see it from the customer's point of view. I've always, I've never enjoyed working in places where there's a front of house, back of house divide.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've still thrown my toys out the pram and, sulked and done my thing I think in the early days when I didn't know how to behave, or I certainly didn't know how to manage people, I made a lot of mistakes. I don't think I was a nice boss. I don't think I was, I thought everyone was on the journey with me, and, trying to be the next Marco and, fucking throw things against the wall or pin someone up against the wall. You know what I mean? I made those mistakes. And I think when everyone started handing their notice in or not turning up to work, I'm like, I'm the one doing more hours now, and maybe I need to manage people a bit differently. So I did learn quickly on that one, but you just have to figure it out.
You know what they say? I think from that sort of point of view, I've always kind of had, obviously, you've got to be a good boss, and you've got to treat people the way you want to be treated, don't you? And it's certainly not great to rant, shout, throw things at people. And I've had, certainly when I was doing my training, I've had all sorts thrown at me, frying pans. I've been dragged out of kitchens, and you name it. That was, again, that was back in the sort of 90s and stuff where those sort of things happened. But I think, from my perspective, it's always been, it is a very pressurized environment. At the end of the day, like you say, you've probably been, by the time you probably let off the steam, as it were, you've probably been on your feet for maybe 14, 15 hours of the day. You've been trying to, spent a lot of the day prepping, getting this meal or whatever together. And then whatever goes wrong, you just snap, don't you? And it's
Yeah.
I suppose it's trying to sort of understand that. But yeah, I think, yeah, it's not where you don't want to be that type of person, but it does happen. And when you're in a hot, sweaty, kitchen,
Yeah.
it's not it's not the sort of most inducive environment to sort of be, calm and collected, is it? So I suppose that's
I mean, it's the pressure, and it comes down to the fact that we have such tight deadlines, don't we? I mean, every check that comes in needs to go out within an X amount of time, so that's constant. And I think after a while, there's certain things that get you down. People not turning up to work, being a man or two down, and it all builds up, and it becomes a bit of a time bomb, really. And I don't know. Over the years, I've definitely calmed down a lot, which was good. And experience helps you. I mean, experience gives you just that more confidence to just say, you know what, I half expect someone not to turn up, so let's put Plan B into place or have it in the back of our minds. So you roll with the punches. But yeah, I mean, meditation helped me. Meditation, a deep breath, there's a lot of things that I've applied to my life externally that actually made me a better chef or a better manager, I think.
Yeah. Well, we'll come on to a couple of those things in a minute. But so obviously you got to that stage, where you I suppose quite famously now, you posted a picture on Instagram, wasn't it? That, of yourself, and obviously you said about, where you'd sort of been in a very dark place and stuff. And that kind of, was that the kind of turning point for you, the sort of sudden realization of, shit?
Well, it's a weird one. That post I put up was in October of the year. So the beginning of that year, January, I had just taken over as chef director of Brunswick House. And at the same time, so the Christmas just before, end of 2015, I'd shaken hands with Jackson and Frank, and came on as business partner with them, and they're dear friends. But at the same time as doing that, I'd had a bit of a shit year. 2015 was not good to me, and then I had a relationship breakdown. So that was like the catalyst for this depression that hit me like a ton of bricks. But I had just, signed to come over and take over Brunswick House. So I knew I had a role to play and a responsibility, but I wanted to kill myself. I didn't want to live. And it was a real. I went through a range of emotions. When it hit me, it was numb. So I guess I just didn't know how to deal with anything. That wasn't. I just got up every day, and as long as I could get up every day and get to work, I had distractions. I had, there was me, Jackson, and my sous chef, Drew. So there was like the three of us just doing service every day and pushing ourselves. And those guys were amazing because they got me through it. They helped me just focus. And if I found myself on the floor at any point, it was like, come on, chef, we can do this. So, that was really important. And then I had like friends and family when I'd go home. Then, I'd had a friend that he'd call me up like 3 a.m. if he had to, just to make sure that I was all right, which was really good. And so I count the fact that I had some amazing people around me that got me through that.
Yeah.
And I think we were doing well when I took over at Brunswick, but then it was getting busy and Faye Mashler gave us a review, Jay Rayner came in, and then A.A. Gill came in. It was like, fucking hell, what is going on? But all the reviews were so positive that, it just gave us a little boost. And I was just like, okay, I'm now cooking some of the best food I've ever cooked. And I'm in the worst place I've ever been. But that was the turning point. And I think really with my dad, I was very truthful with my parents about what was going on. And seeing my dad in tears, that was, for me, that was like, you know what, I can't pass this pain on to anyone else, so I'm going to own it, and I'm going to get through it. And I don't know where I'm going, but I'm just going to push on. So I got through with a lot of support, and just getting back into loving myself and my craft and my cooking. I got through 2016 in one piece. But on October 2016, everyone was putting a lot of things about World Mental Health Day on social media, and I just felt it was the end of the day, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to tell my story really briefly. I'm just going to put it down and say, look, I didn't believe in depression until I had it, and wow, it's real. It's, it is what it is. So I put my phone down, I went to bed, and that was it. The next day, fucking hell, there were messages on my phone, there were emails. I opened Instagram up, there were X amount of likes and comments and direct messages, and I was like, shit, okay, wow. But the one thing I got from that was that there was a lot of people I knew, particularly in the industry, that had been through the same. But I would, for all the years I'd known them, I didn't know that because we don't talk about it. And I think from that moment, so that was the end of 2016, that's when I just kind of vowed to do something about it. I didn't know what, and to some extent, I still don't know what I'm doing. But we just wanted more people to talk about mental health. So the campaign was based around breaking the stigma. So as long as I keep talking about it, and my business partner, Doug, as long as we keep using our experiences and talking loudly, hopefully others can find their voice too. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like I say, we go through a lot. I suppose that a lot of that is because maybe it is because it's a very male dominant sort of environment in kitchens and stuff, and it is that kind of sort of thing. But like I said, I think we all go on these journeys in life. Very briefly, I had two restaurants back in 2007, and they both flooded in 24 hours. So my business went from sort of a couple of million to zero in 24 hours because they were both closed due to flooding. And you go through all that kind of experience, and it's like, oh shit, obviously. But for me, I had the big responsibilities then that I had to deal with it because I, 40, 50 odd staff that I had to, look after, sort out. So I, when we talk about the lockdown now, I actually put a post out on LinkedIn the other week about, when people have been closing up restaurants, and that's a real difficult thing to close up your restaurant through no fault of your own, and have to either obviously, luckily now we've got, they have got the furlough option. For me back in 2007, I didn't have that because it was only flooding in sort of Worcestershire and Gloucestershire, and my restaurants were reopened. So we unfortunately had to make the decision to make all my team redundant, which was really difficult. But we took that decision and went on, and it took us sort of six months or so before we could reopen. But it was a tough time. But you go, I suppose that's how we kind of go through it. But I've shared, since then. Initially, I suppose I didn't share my story. I was very like, I felt a bit embarrassed about it all and everything else. But then, then moving off when I sold, so it came out of the restaurant in 2008 and 2009, the two restaurants I had, and then from sort of 2010, I sort of then fell into doing the sort of consultancy work that I do now, and it was about sort of 2016, 2017 that I started to kind of, like I say, I suppose own the sort of what you've been through and sort of say, actually, do you know what, I can talk about this. I can say to people, this is what I've been through, and try and help people through that experience, don't you? Through your own experiences, give other people the opportunity to understand.
Completely, yeah. I mean, look, people are on their own journeys anyway, so I don't expect everyone to listen. Do you know what I mean? If I give someone advice, then they either, take it, or they just say, okay, well, fine, thanks, and I'll carry on. I think sometimes people need to make their own mistakes to really understand how real it is. But what I try and do is lead by example now. I'm 42 years old, and I think about the next 40 years of my life. So, huge changes I've had to make over the last few years, and I've not committed 100% to any of them. I've just been like gradually easing myself. But as every year goes by, I'm just like, okay, well, look, an example being that when I went through the depression, I'd given up drink and drugs for like 6 months to like get myself through that. I was like, well, I don't need a crutch. I'm going to take this pain. I'm going to, fight it head on without like making myself feel worse with drink. And every year now, what I do is I go every winter. I start in November and go through till the 1st of May. And so I'm sober at the moment. I do like 6 months sober, 6 months. I just enjoy the summer, basically, But this time, I'm less inclined to go back. I feel that slowly, my diet's changing all the time. My desire to want to go out and drink and party is declining. So
I think that's called old age, mate.
But it really is. I'm sure it is. But someone said to me the other day, they're like, what are you going to do when the lockdown's over? I'm like, probably stay in.
Yeah. Yeah. But obviously, you talked a couple of things you mentioned so far. You obviously talked about writing a journal, and you talked about meditation. Are those sort of two things that have kind of really helped you?
Well, look, writing for me is very therapeutic, cathartic. It's something that I've done for a long time. I just like writing stuff. I feel that it gets things out of my head. I mean, I'm full of. There's too many things going on in my head most of the time, and whether it's a recipe you're thinking about or something, a bit of music, some videos or whatever it is that I'm currently doing. I've got so many things. And I have to write it down. And my flat at the moment, it's just got loads of stuff on the walls, just so I can get it out, put it on a piece of paper and stick it on the wall. And then as long as it's out of my head, then it's space for other things. So writing has always been that. It's been a way of just unloading and getting things out. And then maybe I come back to stuff, maybe I don't. Meditation is a way of calming things down because, again, working in our industry, as you would know, that there's just so much going on. It's so fast paced. You've got to think on your toes. You've got to think quickly, creatively as chefs. You're always thinking of ideas. And when you leave work, I just remember like leaving work and traveling home on the tube or something and just being like, fuck, I don't want to listen to any music. I just want peace, I want things to slow down. And that eventually led into meditation for me. It was just like, well, as soon as I got back home, my mind would still be racing at like 300 miles an hour. Do you know what I mean? So you can't go to bed, but I don't want to rely on drink to then just ease me down or rejoin. It's like, no, let's think of other ways. So I still have like herbal things like valerian root to just take the edge off everything at the night time. It's annoying, isn't it? Like 2 o'clock in the morning, you're at your most creative. But I must say, so what I do now is that like I'll take one of those valerian root tablets or a sleepy tea, and then I just take like 20 minutes to meditate. And it's like, it's really no more than just stopping thinking, sit in the moment, enjoy it, no sound, no smell, no vision, just be in the moment right there. And, you can slow things down. It's a really good way of calming a busy mind, I think.
Yeah,
that's the way.
Yeah, no, well, there's sort of seen there's people have sort of said in there, sort of now very famous people who they'd always have like was it actually musicians? Talking about musicians, wasn't there a musician who always had a tape recorder or a pad or something next to the bed? And
see,
I forget which song. There's a very famous song. I forget which one. It was probably sort of like I don't know.
I used to do this. I used to do this as a chef. Always have it next to the bed because of ideas.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, no, do not indulge your creativity at 2 a.m. if you have a double shift the next day.
Yeah, but I'm sure, like I say, I forget. I'm sure there is somebody, have to say somebody find it and let us know. But it was, I'm sure there was like quite a very, very famous song written. Like I say that he did the riff or whatever at, like I say, woke up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, did that next morning. He kind of played it back and was like, oh, actually, yeah, and that's now whatever it is, probably Bohemian Rhapsody or something like that. But yeah, like I say, I think there is. It's getting that out of you and just clearing your mind so that you can sort of, like I say, you've got to get the rest and stuff and everything else. So obviously you launched Pilot Light.
Yeah.
You're not too sure what it is yet or where it's going to be. So more of a campaign, but you're now kind of focusing more on that. What's the?
Well, we are. Yeah, I guess I do know what it is. Unfortunately, with the lockdown and as the industry collapsed, so did our business because Every year, we've been doing this since the conversation we started in the end of 2016, and it's just evolved. So I guess we wanted people to talk, and we were getting people talking, we were getting people having conversations. But it was something we would do in our spare time because, I was opening restaurants, running restaurants. So, you'd have to pick it up on maybe a Monday when you had a day off. And so I think what was happening, there was more and more people wanting to get involved, but the output was underwhelming the demand. So we had people come on board with us. We grew the team a little bit, and then we shrunk it back. And then we just got into a position where we was like, okay, look, we're going to leave our jobs and we'll turn it into a business. So it'll be a social good business. But, any kind of profit we make, we want to put back into the business or hopefully back into the industry so we can help people along the journey that, anyone that's enriching the industry, we'd love to be able to invest in them. That's the way we felt. And we were just ready to kind of relaunch again. We'd had a couple of different launches for different parts or different stages. And we just got everything in a row. It was like, okay, we know exactly. There was like, it was kind of multifaceted in what we were going to do. And then everything collapsed and it was like, okay, we just moved into an office. Now we've got to shut it up. So, we're just as affected as everyone else. We put so much into it over the last few years. It's not to say we're giving up. We're not. We just have to wait for the industry to get back. All we can do at the moment, really, and we have been, is we're just being very present. We're putting a lot of online stuff. There's been a lot of kind of social media stuff. We're voicing calls. We're pointing people in the right direction. We've been contributing to podcasts and live sessions and a whole bunch of stuff. So it's just letting people know we're here. When people are in some serious trouble, then it's making sure the signposts are up for that. But I guess, again, using our experience, I've been putting stuff up on Instagram, which has been either like, me just having my little isolation chat or now the little cooking videos, and the amount of feedback I get from that, I know it's doing some good. So yeah, you always want to do more, but sometimes it is those little bits, just the simple little bits that you can do. And if it's helping 3 people, 4 people, that's good enough. Do you know what I mean? It's helping.
Without doubt. Like say, you need to save one person, don't you, to make it a success? So
exactly.
Yeah, so that's amazing. So where what's obviously when we come out of this, what's the sort of thoughts with it? Obviously you're going to keep on with it. Hopefully.
Well, yeah, we will. I guess one of the frustrating things is that there's a few of us involved in it, and my role has always been really, being an ambassador for it, and I always feel it's about awareness and prevention. And we work alongside people like Hospitality and Action and Shout, and we've worked with Mind. So they're the people that deal with the real serious stuff. We're no experts, but again, we're using our voices. And one of the ways we can get awareness out there is just by doing lots of fun events. So my calendar was looking really good for like just some really cool events. And this month I should have been in Russia and Canada, and we had some things going on in Greece and New Orleans in September. So it was just going to be a lot of fun. And, what we do best, we cook, we have parties, but we can do that around mental health. And everything stopped for the year. So I don't know. We're here to help the industry, but I think the industry needs to get back on their feet a bit first before before we're going to be completely relevant. At the moment, I think we are relevant because people are approaching us saying, look, we need tips and tricks, and we've got that.
Yeah.
But we don't necessarily have a business because, we can't be working with restaurants if there's no money. Restaurants are struggling themselves, you know what I mean? So I think we'll just look for partnerships and things like that, and, hoping that pays the bills. But we've done it for the love for so long. Do you know what I mean? But if to give up our jobs to jump on this, much like a charity, we've still got to be able to pay the rent.
No, definitely. Well, no, without doubt. So what's your sort of if you got obviously people coming to you now, what's your kind of simple advice to them for what they can kind of do to
I've got a list actually. It's quite funny. I mean, I call it my 12 commandments, but I'm just trying to keep it quite simple. We're adding some stuff to the website at the moment, so hopefully this will be up in the next few days. But it is, I mean, some of the things I feel is that, lay off the booze, because that doesn't help, particularly now. I think you make sure that you're getting plenty of exercise, or you get out if you can. And even if it's just a walk, meditation, I always say, but it's not easy for people to meditate. But I think if people are locked down at the moment, it's a good time to try and practice and, or read up on it, watch some YouTube.
Yeah, there's lots of apps there, lots of apps.
Exactly. So I just feel that it's very difficult to tell people to do it, or people to understand that you should do it. But once you've done it for at least like 30 days, the benefits that you get off it is why I shout about it so much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really does make difference. But then there's other things, affirmations and practicing gratitude all the time. It's about putting some positive narrative in your head. And that, the difference. But, people will look at this situation at the moment as a prison sentence. I see it as a gift. We're giving a gift of time. And particularly for chefs that usually, historically, we don't have much time. Take this time, remember this time, spend it with family, spend it with, your loved ones that you're locked up with. And if not, then, try and learn a new hobby or, there's a lot of things, write a journal. There's stuff that we can apply, but we just don't wait for things to happen. Go out there and make things happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I say go out there, stay indoors. And
well, but you could, it's not waiting for things to come to you. You've got to go and sort of say put those things out there, and
exactly. Like I said earlier, it's just like I'm running out of hours in a day to do stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, there are things we can do rather than just play video games or watch Netflix. Do you know what I mean? I would read a book and read 5 books in a week or something. Do you know what I mean? Just.
No, without doubt, and all the things you mentioned there is all things that, like I say, after that, period I had difficulty. It's all things that started to get me through. Like I say, I write, affirmations. I've got, the gratitude and everything. I write a journal. I do meditate. Probably not as much as I should, and I should do that more. But it's all those sort of things that, like I say, keep you focused and where you're going and what you want to achieve.
And it does help, right?
Oh, without doubt. Oh, like I say, it's clearing the, it's having that clear focus of how, if that's what I want to achieve, that's what I want to be in whatever, time frame it might be, what do I need to do it? And, how do I get from A to B on the quickest path, without getting, I think the problem is when people don't write stuff down or when they don't have that clear path, they, it's easy for something else just to kind of pop up that, it's the new shiny thing that you go and start, and it actually then moves you away from actually where you wanted to be. And you don't realise it until it's too late or whatever it might be. So we're definitely all those sort of things that you mentioned there are for me very, very important. And I know it's difficult at this stage because I suppose it's all, when are we going to come out of this lockdown or whatever, and all these sort of different things. But for me, again, I've got, obviously my business has been pretty hard hit with restaurants closing. And I've had, clients obviously close their restaurants, but I've still got a couple of, sort of clients that, one isn't opening his restaurant for a while. So we're still in the, sort of build phase and all that sort of thing and design sort of side of it. And then there's another client who they were closed for the winter season, just about to reopen. But actually she said, do you know what? I can take this time to get all the stuff done that I wanted to get done and have it, ready. So when we do, so there's lots of things that, say you take the opportunity. The amount of restaurateurs I've probably spoken to over the years that have said, I know what I need to get done, John. I just don't have the time to do it. Well, now you've got the time to do it, get it done, sort of thing.
This is it, isn't it? It should be about, people should be selfish at the moment and get the self-care in place, because chefs, people in hospitality, we work a lot of hours. Do you know what I mean? There's so many people that would, while we're going through those hard hours, it's just like, we're always looking for that day off or a holiday or something. So let's not think of this as a prison sentence. Let's think of this as something positive. What would you do if you had the time to do it? And, apply that to your life. I want to do things. I actually want to do things and I haven't got the time to do it. I bought, because, as part of being a musician, I downloaded this app on my iPad and I've bought a little bit of hardware that I can plug my guitar into, and it goes into my iPad. So because I'm not getting to see my band at the moment, I've got all these ideas, and I can start actually recording from home. Do you think I can get any time to do it? Absolutely not.
Yeah, but I think, you know, you mentioned earlier about, you know, sort of trying to get a routine. I think that's quite important for people as well, isn't it? So don't, you know, like you say, maybe, you know, still set the alarm for whatever time, you know, maybe have a little bit more of a line than you normally would, but maybe say, oh, you know, do you know what, the alarm gets set for 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning. You know, I'm ready for 9, and plan your day out. You know, because I suppose that's what a lot of people, you know, they might, oh well, you know, say it's a bit Groundhog Day or tomorrow.
Don't waste it sleeping.
And what's that? Sorry.
Don't waste it sleeping. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, so keep yourself focused and have yourself very much, you know. So I think a routine would be, you know, is really important for people.
Completely, totally agree. Yeah. I just need to stick to mine.
Yeah, well, I suppose, like I say, it can still go a little bit awry, but you know, but I suppose at least if people are getting up and doing stuff, like I say, you know, making out the day rather than just, like I say, spending in, you know, oh well, I'll lie until whatever time and get up at whatever time. I won't bother getting dressed today. You know, it's still important to do a lot of these things rather than just, you know, let's say do that and let's say, you know, make sure you're getting your, you know, because even when, you know, do you think that a lot of the, you know, obviously before, you know, we got into this situation where we are now with the industry, you know, do you think there's a lot of failings in the industry for chefs and people within the industry? Do you think there's things that need to be changed?
I think there is. I mean, yeah, I didn't think it would happen this way, I've got to be honest, but I felt that there was a lot of openings. There was just, you know, restaurant after restaurant after restaurant, and not enough places, not enough staff for all these openings. And it's been a concern of mine for a long time, and it's something that works alongside what we've been talking about with Pilot Light and, you know, mental health, but the burnout syndrome. It's just like, actually, look, as I said, I've made mistakes in management many years ago, but if there's more and more places opening and yet fewer and fewer people coming into the industry, shouldn't we start setting a better example for the industry? Because it seems that media are very good at picking up when something's wrong in our industry versus any other, you know, business. It's like, you know, bullying, the trunk system, drugs, drink. You know, there's been a whole load of things that have come up in the news all the time. And for anyone that's skeptical about coming into our industry anyway, like, you know, I've had loads of people over the years saying, look, oh, I couldn't be a chef, too hard, you know, too many hours, get shouted at, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, maybe we're just breeding the wrong kind of work ethic. Do you know what I mean? I love it. Like, we're shouting and it's noisy, but play a game of football quietly. You can't. Do you know what I mean? So this, for me, it's just like, actually, let's just start arming ourselves up a bit more. And this industry's, it's taken me around the world. I think it's just amazing. There's no 2 days that are the same. And you learn so much. Or do you want to be stuck in an office for, like, you know, the rest of your fucking life? Absolutely not. Yeah. So I think that there's so much, but we as an industry need to shout this. There couldn't have been a better time to be in hospitality. Like, you know, chefs are celebrities these days. They have the celebrity status. You know, restaurants are the place to be. Do you know what I mean? And like you say, you can travel around the world doing this. So I felt that for all the restaurants that were opening, there wasn't enough staff coming into it, and at some point it would implode. But I didn't think it would be this that would do it. But it shows how fragile the industry is. That's also another thing. And you know, do
you think when it does sort of, obviously, you know, we come out of this, do you think obviously it's clearly going to be very different?
I think it will. I mean, look, if people are able to reopen the restaurant, amazing, great. But you know, I've heard in this time some really, you know, awful, shitty stories of landlords, you know, really wanting to push people out or hike the prices up just to recover some money back, and it's just it's pretty rough stuff to hear. Do you know what I mean? And the problem is, it'll push the independents out, and then you can imagine that they'll lower the prices for you know, the bigger corporates to come in and fill the spots, that, you know, because they tend to be hot products.
Yeah, well, personally, actually, I think it might be the other way around. I think the corporates are going to be the ones that are going to struggle because they've got obviously the huge, you know, number of overheads and units and stuff. And I think, if you've got a good independent, obviously, yes, the financing's important. I think there is opportunity, but yeah, I think, clearly, obviously, we've already seen companies like Carluccio's and stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
definitely, I think, look, from last year when I left St Leonard's to before the corona, I was looking at the amount of sites that were available, and I knew something was going to be wrong. Because Carluccio's, there was a lot of places going out of business, and you're just like, there's something not right. Business rates were going through the roof, rents were high, and it was just like, I had the money to go and do another restaurant, but I was just like, do I want to do it? I felt it needed to slow down, or maybe it wasn't London that was going to do it, but yeah, again, didn't expect it to be a virus that would stop it all. But
no, but and it's going to be interesting. Like I say, it will be interesting when we come out the other side and where the industry kind of reshapes itself. And I do personally, I do hope that they, the restaurateurs and these, like I say, these business owners and stakeholders kind of do think more about actually the team that they have in their business and how they, how crucial and vital they are to the operation, and that actually start to treat them with a bit more, respect and sort of.
I've got to say, John, I know that week before the government, leading up to the government, issuing like the kind of a money for us. But at the beginning of the week, there was a lot of uncertainty. No one knew what was going on, but there was a lot of businesses that got rid of their staff immediately. And I felt that, and some did it in such an awful way as well. And you would hope that those places get boycotted in terms of, there's still a lot of places, there's still going to be a lot of jobs available. Go to the places that are actually, value staff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever come across Simon Sinek and some of his stuff. He's quite an American, quite a prominent sort of author and stuff. Written some really good books. Start with Why and Leaders Eat Last and things like this. And he actually, there's a great. He did it as part of a TEDx talk, and he said, when times get tough. As we say, if you're a family, you've got kids and everything else. If times get tough, do you get rid of one of your kids? And he relates that back to businesses. It's like, okay, you hit a tough time. At the end of the day, your employees, your team are your kids. If that was your family, you're going to get rid of one of your kids just because you can't, afford. And it's quite a powerful way of looking at it. Of actually, these guys are really, at the end of the day, chefs and your waiting staff front of house are crucial to the success of your business. So therefore, it's time to start to, I'm a very, very strong believer in at the end of the day, part of what I do in my work when I work with restaurants and stuff is say, actually, look, if we can, rather than look at how to, cut costs with staff and stuff, it's actually how do you make your business more efficient operationally through systems and processes and everything else, then in fact, you might not need to employ as many staff, but actually what then you can actually do is you can actually pay your staff better, you can actually treat them better, or they can work less hours or whatever it might be, and you can start to evolve your business that way, and it's a much more powerful way of looking at it. So
we've always stuck to a same formula, haven't we? And the public dictate when they want to eat, and you've got your key times when people want to come in. But I think this time, I haven't got the answers here, by the way, but it is. There will be people that start thinking very creatively about how we move forward. And setting some examples for other businesses and other restaurants to follow. And I'm looking forward to seeing what people do come up with, because I don't know if it could have gone on. I'm really concerned about how fragile the whole industry was, that it's just collapsed and then we've got nothing. So I think we have to rethink things and strengthen it. But I know we will come back stronger. I really believe that.
Yeah. Well, people are always going to want to eat out, and they're always going to want good food. They're always going to want great service, and that experience. It's like we talked about earlier, didn't we? About at the end of the day, it comes down to experiences, doesn't it? If you go to the kebab place and you get a great experience every time, that's what you remember over going and eating amazing food in a Michelin-starred restaurant that's got no atmosphere whatsoever. And that is what you're trying to to sort of create, day in day out. And I think if you've got that that right, then hopefully you'll come back and we'll, I hope we see a bit of a boom, because I think hopefully a bit of luck, people have been cooped up for a few weeks and everything will be like, look, we want to get out. Clearly at the end of the day, we're more than likely we are going to go into recession. I don't think there's any way of avoiding that, but we've just got to, it's how do we get through that in the best way, shape or form. And I think there's going to be some like I say, some very interesting things. The other thing I just sort of picked up on, when you talked about yourself, do you think there's a lack of when as you go up through a kitchen, through the ranks in a kitchen, do you think there is a lack of that kind of leadership development? Obviously, because at the end of the day, you just get, you start off as a commie, you go to a CDP, you move up the different ranks. Do you think there is a lack in the industry of that leadership training, of how to actually, become a...
I think 50-50 really. I think there's a lot of, because the amount of restaurants and, places that are open now, then there's still amazing places that, value the team and value, nurturing the next generation of chefs. That still happen, but there's an awful lot of places that, they're kind of faceless businesses. They just employ people. They don't care. It's like one in, one out. Like, I've worked for a big corporate that, I was just quite shocked how they treat staff, and it didn't last long now. But I'm not as ruthless as I look. I always felt rather uncomfortable, and it was like, oh well, just get rid of him. And it's like, really, wow, that's pretty. Don't you want to work with someone? Do you know what I mean? To try and make them. And I find it as a chef, the rewards that you get from seeing someone. I used to have it, particularly at Brunswick House, where we had like 2 kitchen porters that, while we were cooking, I had these kids just kept looking over at me, and I'm just like, what the fuck are they looking at all the time? And after a few weeks, I was just like, hey, come here, do this, look after that, da-da-da. And it was, just give them a couple of jobs, and the next minute, like, one of them's a really, really good, well, they're both very, very good chefs. Within a year, they were very good chefs. Yeah. And then one of them's like holding it down at the sea, Leo Carrera's place, and I guess it makes me feel super proud that when you've taken someone from nothing and put them into that they've got their own career, and they're going to probably be better chefs than I ever will be. Do you know what I mean? But that I couldn't, it's such a great feeling. So when someone does play up, it's just like, don't fucking just sack them off. Work with them. If they're playing out, maybe it's something you're doing or not doing. Do you know what I mean? So
without doubt. Yeah, like I say, if they're bored and whatever they do, it's finding what interests and what ignites them, what moves them forward, isn't it?
I always found as well that a lot of chefs that used to scream and shout all day long. It's just like, have you told them how to do something? Have you shown them how to do it? And I always found that there's a lot of chefs that are just shouting to hide the fact that actually they don't know the shit themselves. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think for me, it's the amount of times I've been into kitchens and I've gone and done agency chefing at times and things like that. And I've gone into kitchens and the chef will go, can you, make this or whatever it might be? And I'm like, yeah, okay, have you got a recipe? And they'll look at me going, what, you don't know how to fucking make that? Or, I'm like, well, I do. I know how I make it, but I'm in your restaurant.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I need to help you make it, because this is about, me recreating your food, not me bringing my stuff in. And
we might as well just start with, eh?
What's that, sorry?
You got to get it right to start with, don't you? Do you know what I mean? I did that once. I was doing a trial day. I got the job, but I was doing a trial day at a certain place. Again, won't mention it. And the chef, he brought out a venison leg. Now, I was a trained butcher as well. Do you know what I mean? I trained as a butcher. So he said, can you break it down into all the small muscles? Well, of course I did. I broke it down perfectly into every micro muscle. And then he's come along out of the moan saying, no, I didn't mean that. And it's just like, well, you told me, break it down into all the muscles. So there has to be clarity. I think that's why I've been good in that sense. Make sure I show people, tell people exactly what I want, and then go over that. And if I have to repeat myself a few times, that's fine. If they still don't get it, then, maybe it's not the job for them. But I find that there were too many chefs that just assume people know how to do stuff. And it's like, well, if you really need something done a proper way, then you've got to be over them all the time. And then it'll be better for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel we could talk for hours, but so I'm sort of thinking, just sort of, I suppose, to kind of, summarize, so, yeah, bit of a sort of summary. What are you kind of hoping for over the next sort of few kind of, months and years, out of the industry? Where do you hope it kind of goes?
I said, what, the industry. I do believe. I have to have faith that we're going to come back stronger than ever. I don't know. I would like to see that businesses that deserve staff have staff, and those that don't deserve their staff, close down. For all the restaurants that open, there's a lot of very shitty places and very shitty people that own them, and I would hope that we can collectively stamp that out.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what I wanted to do anyway. I wanted to, I don't want to witch hunt. That's not my, that's not what I want to do. But if we as an industry can, because we love our industry, can start setting some better examples and police ourselves, then there'll be a lot of restaurants that, they won't be able to staff up because they're not part of the pilot light movement.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And obviously just on that, so how can people sort of, get in contact with yourself or, with Pilot Light? What's the...
Well, at the moment, yeah, I mean, you can get in touch with us through our website or social media. I mean, we don't, at the moment, we're just trying to help out where we can and be as useful as we can. We don't have anything to offer at the moment in terms of what we were going to be doing, but I'm on my social media more than ever. But you know what's funny, actually? I actually wrote an article at the beginning of the year saying how I'm not going to be doing social media as much this year. And then the lockdown is like imperative that I'm on there. But yeah, by all means, reach out on social media. I'm checking my messages a lot more than I ever did. And the website, we're going to be putting a lot more content up soon. So lots of signposting, lots of advice, videos, tutorials, all that kind of fun stuff. Just trying to keep some positive energy out there.
Yeah, that's amazing. I really appreciate it. I think that last hour just, loads and loads of value there. So really appreciate all that, mate.
Great stuff, John. I appreciate it.
Brilliant. All right.